Hey there, sister. Welcome back to Girl Out of Order. I am so proud of you for joining me for the final installment in our Do You Know Who She Is series. Today's episode is so near and dear to my heart. It actually chokes me up. I'm really looking forward to diving into this episode with you and sharing what I believe is going to be one of my life's messages, one of my passions for women that I know I'm going to carry throughout the remainder of my career, my mission, my keynotes, my writing. And I really believe that if you listen to what I'm going to be telling you and you take it into your spirit and you're willing to put it into practice, I promise you, your life will transform. Trauma can be tackled, and hope is on the horizon. So before we dive into this final episode, I want to do a quick recap of where we've come from so far in this series. We're talking about who she is, and we're using the acronym SHE IS so that you have an anchor that you can really hold on to when you're wrestling with those disempowering beliefs, those limiting beliefs that keep you stuck, that keep you sad, that keep you small. So I wanted to give you this acronym to give you something that you can be reminded of when you know that you have a life that is better, fuller, more joy-filled, more hopeful, more purpose-driven than the one you're currently living. And so the first S that we tackled, and if you haven't listened to these previous episodes, it's not too late. Go on back and listen to the previous episodes in our series so you can put it all together. But as a summary, our first S that we tackled was self-acceptance. If you really want to know who you are, if you want to look in the mirror and say, who is she? Who is this woman that's staring back at me? You have to begin with self-acceptance. And I talked about, and I'm going to continue to talk about why I created Girl Out of Order. I created it for me because I was a woman desperate for accepting myself, my beautiful self in all my colors and hues, all my complexities, all of my story. And I had spent all of my youth and most of my adult life trying to contort myself to fit a mold I was never, ever designed for. And I was done. And so created Girl Out of Order because I wanted to plant my flag and say, I might be out of order, but I am accepting my beautiful self. And I wanted to give that message and give that community and give that inspiration to women around the world, starting with me, building out to my 4 daughters, and then my friends and my clients and the world. And then H, it's one of my earliest messages in the Girl Out of Order podcast, and it's about becoming your own hero. And this message really came from my law practice and helping women understand that even as they're going through the dismantling of their marriage and the reorganization of their family, that they had to show up for their own rescue. They had to participate in their own heroism. And when women learn to be their own hero, it doesn't mean we go it alone. It doesn't mean that we can't rely on others. It doesn't mean that we should do it alone, because frankly, we are meant to do life in community. But becoming your own hero is pivotal to becoming a girl out of order, to becoming somebody who can stand in her own authentic truth, because you know that you are your own superpower or superhero, and that you have everything that you need within you to create the life of your dreams, to navigate through the challenges, the traumas, the disappointments, and sometimes the devastation that happens in our lives, whether it's a health challenge, a marriage challenge, a work challenge. No matter what it is, you sisters are your own hero. And when you step into that heroism and you put on that cape and you understand that you are your own superhero, you really start to build momentum in creating your life, your identity that you really love, and that will allow you to make the authentic impact only you are designed to make. And then we talked about E, which is essence. And the essence part is about those values that are core to who you are. Those ones that don't fall away as we go through the stages and phases of life. For me, it's freedom, it's integrity, it's honesty. Those are part and parcel of who I am as a person, as a woman, as a wife, as a mom, as an employer. It doesn't matter what role I'm in. Those values carry over and carry through and run through all of the different aspects of my life. They inform how I show up for everything. Because if you try to constrict my freedom, I'm going to fight back. And if you're not honest with me, we're going to have a problem. And if I can't operate within my integrity, then I need to make a change. And that episode, I talked a lot about changes I had to make because I wasn't living in a situation that was in my integrity. So knowing your true values, knowing your essence, what makes you, you, and those values that form the foundation, the compass that guides you is so important as you are building this identity and you are recovering or uncovering or for the first time ever discovering who you truly are. And then last week we talked about I. So we got through the she and then we moved into the is. And the I is inquiry. And this is one of those beautiful tools that I have gained in my couple years of being in the Tony Robbins universe. And it's really about living a life of curiosity because so many women, so many humans, but women in particular, we sleepwalk through life and we just sort of, well, oh wait, you need me to be this over here. Okay, I'll go over here and you need me to bring your lunch here and okay, I'll do that. And you need me to show up here and do that and do this. And we're so caught up in all the things we need to do and be for everybody else that we're not actively engaging with life. What I love about living a life of curiosity is it gets you actively engaged. It gets you to that point of where you're living an intentional life. Because a life of intention is the starting point for a life of fulfillment and contribution. Because if we are not living intentional lives, we're nothing more than a boat being tossed around the ocean. You might feel good for a while as the seas are calm, but when shit hits the fan, your boat's going to sink or it's going to go in a direction that you did not choose. So when you live a life of curiosity, when you live a life of inquiry, you ask better questions. Guess what happens? You know what the answer is. You get better answers. So we ask more empowering questions. As we're building this life that we want, as we're creating the identity that we truly desire and deserve, we start asking more empowering questions, then that identity crystallizes so much faster. For example, if you have a situation like, let's use a dramatic one, you lose your job, that can be super traumatizing. And you can ask the question once you get over the initial shock, which is normal. I mean, we've got to be human, right? What is the gift in this? Sometimes it's harder to find those gifts. But I promise you, sister, you can find the gifts if you ask the right questions. And when you ask those more empowering questions, you start to feel like a more empowered woman. So now we've arrived at the final S. And I will tell you, when I did this talk for my Nashville recently, I did a different S. And I talked with my mentor, Katie, and she wanted me to do this one. And I wasn't quite ready. I hadn't have enough time to prepare, but mostly I just didn't feel like it was the right forum, the right environment, the right audience. And this S is so important. I'm not going to get through this without getting a little emotional. So I hope you're willing to go on that ride with me. Are you willing? Are you ready? Because here's the thing about this she is model. You can put whatever you want in it because you're a girl out of order, damn it. And if you want to create your own she is model and that works for you and helps you create this beautiful, empowering identity, go for it. Okay? So the one that I used in the My Nashville talk was S for stay true. And yes, it was definitely an edifying Lauren LaHave in her stay true message for women. And it was about, if you want to create this beautiful, empowering identity, if you want to be intentional and create a purpose-driven life, then you need to stay true to your tribe. You need to create a tribe of women, of friends around you that are going where you're going, doing what you want to do, and will not allow you to sit in self-pity, sit in your shit. And they want what's best for you, even on those days when you can't see it for yourself. So yeah, you could pick stay true, and that would be beautiful. Or my invitation for you today is that S stands for S.W.ord. And I know that might sound a little bit weird, and that's okay, because I'm a girl out of order and I can be weird. And by the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, you might notice something just a tiny bit different about me, because girl, before I dive into the seriousness of this episode, I can't stop smiling. I got hair extensions today. I know this sounds super random and totally first world issues, but ever since I was a little girl, oh my gosh, it actually is tying into the topic. Holy smokes, I didn't see that coming. Ever since I was a little girl, I have wanted long hair. I used to pull my t-shirts up on my forehead and hang my t-shirts or my sweatshirts down my back, and I would fling the t-shirts and the sweatshirts and the sweaters around because it made me feel beautiful in a childhood that was filled with a lot of pain. And I've never been able to have long hair. And I've always struggled with how I look. And my hair, for whatever reason, created such insecurity for me. Because we all have our things, right? Well, today, I got hair extensions for the first time, and I literally can't stop smiling. In fact, before I came down to record, I changed out of my t-shirt, and it was the first time I'd ever felt hair on my back. And it was such a beautiful sensation. I'm not entirely sure why I'm sharing this with you, except to just help you get to know me and know my story, because that's what I'm going to tell you when it comes to S.W.ord. So little Christine always wanted long hair. And little Christine always wanted peace and safety and security and to feel loved and seen and valued. And she didn't have that during her childhood. But what I did develop in my childhood from a very, very young age was a voracious, insatiable, unquenchable thirst to save others. Because my childhood was riddled with pain, and my childhood was riddled with abuse. And so when I had a family, I knew I was going to save my family. I was going to give them everything I never had. And if anybody ever tried to hurt a member of my family, I would take my sword and I would stab them. And I would fight, and I would take the bullets, and I would subject myself to any pain, any threat, if I could just keep my family safe, if I could keep the girl tribe God gave me safe. And this insatiable need to be an advocate and a protector of others came from my childhood, came from my desperate desire to be safe. So I thought, if I couldn't keep myself safe as a child, then I would spend the rest of my life being an advocate, a protector for others. And I became a challenger, and I became too much, right? I was too aggressive. I was too bold. I was too argumentative. I was all those two, you fill in the blanks. And all the while it was covering over the fact that I never, ever felt enough. And so I was willing to sacrifice every part of what I needed, wanted, or desired out of this life if it meant I could keep somebody safe, especially my family. And I've told this story on the podcast in the past, and I'll just briefly allude to it. And my husband was unfaithful 2 times in our marriage. And I took it all. I took the bullets for my family, because I wanted to protect my daughters. God, give me all those bullets. Please, 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 just don't let it hurt my children. And I took it all. And I put my sword up and I batted back all those bullets and I did everything I could to keep them safe until I couldn't. Why am I sharing that with you in the context of do you know who she is? Because here's the thing. We all carry a sword. We raise up the sword of virtue, or we raise up the sword of I'll protect you, or we raise up the sword of I'll just be quiet in the corner. And we tell ourselves that we're just being humble. But that's really a sword, sisters, and it's exhausting holding it high, because what it's doing is it's taking all of your energy that you should be using to create a beautiful life for yourself, and it's taking it and it's sucking it dry for everybody and everything else. What is it for you? For me, it was a desperate desire to keep my children free from harm, to keep them free from violation, to give them the freedom to just grow up in innocence like I never had. Do you see how my essence showed up in my sword? I've worked with so many women over the years, and we run the gamut, sisters, from bold, brash, confident, aggressive, challenging kind of women, these women that are super high energy. But we all have something that if we're not intentional and we're not healthy and we're not living lives of alignment, can present itself as a sword that drains us of our life and vitality and distracts us from the highest, best life we're meant to live. Have you ever caged yourself so someone else could fly? That's a sword. Have you ever sat in a conference room, in a meeting, or a boardroom and dimmed your light so that somebody else could shine? Have you ever been in a relationship where you shrunk back so he didn't feel threatened by your strength? Have you ever kept your opinions to yourself because it might ruffle some feathers? Sisters, when I say sword, I don't want you to think that it only means women like me that are outwardly aggressive and strong. And no. We raise swords of self-protection, and they come in all shapes, sizes, forms, and volumes. Sometimes it's that whisper inside us that says, I know that I should leave, but I'm too afraid I won't make it on my own. And so I will deny this voice inside me that tells me this isn't right. Sometimes, and if this is too sensitive for you, I apologize in advance, but I know there are women out there who have felt this. Sometimes it's that screaming no inside your mind, but you don't say it because you're too afraid of what he'll do. Sometimes it's not applying to that graduate school program because you don't believe that you deserve that higher education, or you don't apply for that promotion because you tell yourself everybody else is more qualified. What is that sword that you are using to keep yourself or others safe that is actually a lie? Because in reality, you're just draining yourself of the vitality and the beauty and the potential that only you can provide. And this world is waiting, sisters. What is it for you? What is your sword? What is that sword that you carry and you walk around and it's so hard to hold up in the air, but you hold it because everybody else expects this of you because you're trying to be something or do something or say something you were never designed to be, do, or say. What is it that you need to drop so you can be free to live the life you were meant to, because the world needs what only you can provide, you beautiful soul. So today, in our final installment of Do You Know Who She Is? If you want to not only know who she is, but start living that life of a girl out of order and stepping into your power and releasing your potential and starting to make the mark that you were designed to make, you need to drop your sword. You see, when I stopped trying to pretend with my daughters that everything was fine in our marriage, and I came clean is not the right word. When I came to them and I authentically shared what I had been holding on to and suffering for years, you know what happened? Everything that their spirits knew was wrong all of a sudden made sense, but more than that, I dropped my sword. And it freed my soul. And I could begin to heal. So, my beautiful sisters, what is your sword that you need to drop? What is it that you are holding so tightly to and trying to be everything for everybody else except yourself? What do you need to drop? I invite you this week to take a good, long, honest, beautiful, grace-filled look at your life and ask yourself, where am I contorting myself to fit into a mold or expectations I was never designed to fit into or to meet? And I'm inviting you to be brave enough to stop and to drop your sword, because you deserve to free your soul, and the world is waiting. And what I found out when I dropped my sword is my daughters were waiting, because even though they didn't have words to fully understand what was going on, they knew something was wrong. And when I dropped my sword, I didn't just free my soul, I freed theirs. I freed them up to love me better, to know me more fully, and to have a place of safety, because I was now authentic and real with them. So when you free your soul, you might just find that you free the soul of those that you love. We're in this together. The world needs a girl out of order like you. The world needs a tribe of girl out of order. Oh my goodness gracious. This episode is going to be dropping the day before the election in the United States of America. It's a crazy time. And there's so much division among women. And there's so much division within women. Individual women are so divided because we're holding up these swords and we're exhausted. Drop them, sisters. Drop your sword. Drop the sword you're using on yourself and drop the sword you're using on others, because we all need to free our souls, and the world will be changed through this tribe of girls out of order. It's not cliche when I say I love you. It's not fake when I say I see you. And I'm not playing when I say I'm here for you. We're in this together. I will see you next time.